everyone, it's Jazz from the West Ham Irons channel. I hope everyone's having a good Thursday. Just one more day to go before everyone's favourite day, Friday. This is show number 2 in my first sort of match or game at Upton Park series. So we had Robert Gatesy, my good friend from Forge from Iron channel last week, who funny enough chose a game from the same season that we're going to be looking into in this show. So he picked the Bury 10-0 Mill Cup, what was the Mill Cup back then, win. And this game today, which you're going to be talking about, was a little bit just before that, really. So first of all, it's a welcome to old friend of the channel, Rob Banks. How you doing, Rob? You all right?
Good afternoon, Jazz. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad, sir. It's good to see you back on the show. I know we've been speaking about different ventures and different things, and I've been busy changing channels, like
Yeah.
you change your underwear, socks, and that. There we
Well,
go.
I hope I change them a bit more frequently. But...
It is what it is, mate. And I know one thing. You've been on a bit of a travels, mate, on the other side of the world, haven't you?
Yeah, I've just come back. Well, it's 2 weeks ago now. Feels like a lifetime, but just come back from 3 weeks in Brazil. As most people know, my wife is from Brazil, and it was our first chance to go back there for nearly 3 years due to you know what.
Yeah.
And you know, we had a lot of catching up to do with family and friends out there, so it was really good.
Excellent. I didn't actually know that was the reason, but what I did know is that you do frequently go there, really. So yeah, glad you kind of saw some of the family. Good to kind of get away and refresh your batteries, shall we say, and then back to the sort of busy schedule we have in the UK, isn't it? All of us running around as we do. Do you find the pace of life, sort of my family are from India. When I go back, other parts of the world, the pace of life is different, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it's probably what you're used to, but I think if you live there, the pace of life is hectic, just like it is here.
Right.
But because you're on holiday, you know, generally when we go there, we're on holiday, so we can afford to take things a little bit slowly. But no, on the whole, I think there is a bit more of a laid back attitude because of the heat and the longer evenings. You tend to, people finish work, they'll start work really early, finish really early, and then spark up the barbecue, you know, so every night if they get the chance. So it is a bit more laid back.
Yeah, what I find in India is bit slower, and if things need fixing or doing, they're always like, yeah, it'll be done when we get around to it. That kind of attitude, really. Yeah, that's good. So before we get into it, obviously, again, 2 great books that Rob's written. This was kind of one of the first ones, and then I've got the other one as well. And again, Rob, I've not fully finished anything yet, so the next time you're on the show, mate, we'll go into more depth a little bit about the books, really, and everything. So yeah, my first match at Upton Park. It's 1983-84 season. This was the result. And really, I remember, right before we get into it, this is one of the seasons, especially sort of after this game and the game after, is where we won our first 5 league games, really, that season. And I again, funny enough, was in India then. I was only about 9, and I came back, long summer holiday, and Dad's telling me, like, so I was kind of, about 9 years old, just becoming a West Ham fan, knowing what's going on. And Dad used to write all the scores and the scorers, and this very neatly in the book he kept. And I kept looking at it because in that WW used to write the scorers, and I thought, God, that looks amazing. Like, how the hell have we done this? And then obviously, you would know a little bit better than me that West Ham traditionally always started well, especially before Christmas, and after that used to be a little bit of a different story, really. So what I wanted to start off with, really, is, if you don't mind, is it's kind of how you became a West Ham fan and where you lived at the time of that game, mate.
Yeah, well, I'm not from the East End. I'm from South East London. I'm from born in Beckenham, near Bromley, and I became a West Ham fan just as a result of the '75 Cup final. I think I've told this story many times, but there'll be one person out there that hasn't heard it yet. 1975, we had a huge black and white television in the corner of the room, and my dad went out and bought a colour TV that day. Or in those days, you had to sort of go, it was 3 visits to go and check which one you wanted, and and then it was delivered in the back of a van. This colour TV turned up at lunchtime on the day of the cup final. So the 1975 Cup final was the first thing I saw on a colour TV, and of course,
my God, great.
I mean, I was what, six years old or something like that, and it was just made such an impression on me. Plus the fact Dad had said that he had a friend at work who was at the game, so you know, in my naivety, thought we might see him. And obviously West Ham won the game. So from that point onwards, I followed West Ham's results. And again, a bit of a convoluted story, but the guy who was there that day, eventually found out I was interested and encouraged my dad to let me go to a game. And I went with him and my dad to a game in '78, but I don't remember very much about it. It was against Chelsea the year we went down. I know we won. So I'm taking this game in '83 as my first game because it was the first game I went to as a 15-year-old with my mates, if you like, you know. Obviously we'd had promotion and winning the FA Cup in 1980 and everything else since then. So I was chomping on the bit to actually get there. And when we won our first, we'd won our first 3 games, but I think this was the 4th game of the season.
This is the 4th one.
Yeah. So we'd won it. We won at home to Birmingham on the opening day, then away at Everton and away at Spurs.
Yeah, can't get better. Brilliant.
Yeah, and I don't think we'd even conceded a goal by that point.
No, 0 in that column. Yeah.
And so eventually one of my mates at school, who was a West Ham fan, said, "Oh, I'm going tonight. Do you want to come?" And it was in the days when if you wanted to go, you just turned up. And we paid, I think it was £2.50 to stand on the North Bank. Jobs are good. and yeah.
Really, really good. I mean, before we get into more football, I always like to remind certainly some of our younger viewers what 1983, what was going on, and what I was saying to Gatesy was, there's the nuclear disarmament marches in London going on around that time. There was a lot about the miners' strike, always on the news. The Russians in Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq war was Ronald Reagan. Those kind of people always in the news, and for the usual reasons. In pop music, I think Billy Joel, he was #1 in October, and Culture Club Boy George in September this month. So that was kind of what was going on, kind of back in the UK in terms of programs. I think we used to like the Young Ones, Only Fools and Horses, loads of different children's programs. I used to love Grange Hill back in. I remember Rent-A-Ghost, Blue Peter, that kind of thing. And what kids might not know is that when we used to get home from school, kids programs are only there till what, 5:30, 5:30, 6, something like that.
And you used to have like a 5-minute program at the end of children's programs, didn't you? Like Magic Roundabout or Rhubarb and Custard.
I remember the music.
And then it was straight into the news and Nationwide, wasn't it? So you as a kid watching TV, that was the end of your that's the end of it. But I think I was 15 at that point. I was still at school, and I was studying for my O levels. That dates it, doesn't it? O levels. I think I was in the last year of O levels before they became GCSEs.
Yeah. I think I was the first or second in 1990 GCSEs. I was the first one that did those.
Oh right, was it that late?
GCSEs came in 1990. I was either the first batch or the second year to do that, and then my children recently, last 2 years, have gone through further changes in grades. Coursework more or less is not counted anymore, which I think is not good. It used to be 30% for a lot of the subjects. So a lot of upheaval, which I don't agree with for children, and now hopefully things are settling down for them. And lockdown, my son didn't do his GCSEs. He doesn't know what it's like to do an exam. And again, being honest out there, I don't know about other regions or classes, but I think the kids were quite happy with the grades they got. So it was on the generous side, and I think that's a little bit across the board. Perhaps I could be wrong, but I think that's what happened to a lot of the children, I think. But
so it would have been at the end of this season, 83-84, that I actually left school with. At 6, I was just before my 16th birthday. I left school.
Yeah. Do you know if the YTS, whatever that scheme used to be called, was it?
I was on the Y. I joined the YTS. Yeah.
Right.
I did
Okay.
£26.50 a week, working in a estate agent's office.
Wow. Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. I mean,
But
yeah. I mean,
to me, that was a
yeah.
fortune. That was an absolute fortune for me, because I've been used to £5 a week doing a paper round. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, how long would the journey typically would take you, sort of from where you were, sort of going into the ground?
We'd get a train from Clockhouse to London Bridge, which took about 25 minutes.
Mm.
Then, actually, in those days, it was before we'd worked out the quicker route. So we'd go from Beckenham Junction or Kent House up to Victoria, which took longer. And then we'd get the District line all the way from Victoria all the way to Upton Park, which is about a half hour. So the journey in total was well over an hour and a half by the time you take connections and waiting around. But then we discovered that if you went to London Bridge, you could actually walk across London Bridge,
yeah,
and pick up the District line at Monument, and that cut the journey time in half, more or less. But and then a year after that, one of us passed our driving tests, and that was how we used to get to the game. That would take about an hour from home.
Yeah, I mean, similar, because I'm not from the area either. I grew up in Middlesex, which is largely Heathrow Airport, which is Chelsea, QPR area. So a lot of my school friends were Chelsea. They're able to go. I don't think my parents were going to let me go in the train.
Yeah,
sort of across London, and I think I didn't go till 1989 with my dad. We used to drive there. So even now I live in Berkshire, so my journey's about 1.5, nearly 2 hours each way.
Things were a lot different then. I mean, I'm sure my parents used to let me go up to London, central London, on my own or with my friends on the train from about age 13, 12, 13. Without, we didn't have mobile phones or anything like that to pay phones and things like that in an emergency. But
I think the key is that you had friends with you. I didn't have anyone to go with, so that would have made it near impossible. I think if you got someone with you, then I think that might have worked.
Yeah, you don't know my friends.
well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it used to be a bit of hooligan issue around. I don't know how much it filtered through to the media that time, whether parents were quite aware of it and a bit worried. I don't know, but certainly, I mean, when you look at this game, I mean, it sounds like this wasn't planned. It just came very quickly that you were going to go.
It was literally that day. Neil Dobson, who I went to school with, he was a West Ham fan, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to go tonight. Do you want to come with me?" And obviously, I didn't think my mum would say yes. But I suppose a lot of kids those days would have just gone and worried about it afterwards. But she said she didn't have a problem with it. I don't think she understood really what was involved. So
yeah.
And really, I mean, after that first game, that was it. There was no looking back.
You got the drug, didn't you? You got all hooked up and that kind of thing. And another thing why you could have gone that late is because you could buy on the day, couldn't you, with cash? It wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
Looking at this crowd, it's 22,000, which sounds like it's not a lot, but when you look at the other clubs our size, it's about right.
Attendances weren't great in the 80s, and I think the hooliganism factor and the fact that it wasn't a family experience going to football in those days, was it? It was pretty dirty and crowded and smelly and horrible. It wasn't the sort of thing that families of 5 or 6 would go to. Although it was cheap enough for a family of 5 or 6 to go every week.
I understand, because even though you got to watch yourself perhaps on the trains, because I suppose a lot of the sort of dodgy behaviour used to happen near the train stations and stuff like that. You got
and of course I had to travel right through Millwall territory.
Oh my god!
So I had to go through New Cross and Lewisham to get to London Bridge most home games. That could be quite hair raising.
It's funny because when I catch the train and before I get to Stratford, yeah, all that Millwall area is a couple of stops away from where we are now, isn't it? But
Mm,
obviously we don't play at the same time hardly ever.
mm.
And would you wear any colours at the beginning on that day? A scarf, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I didn't have anything that day, and
Mm.
I probably didn't buy anything that day. But it's funny you mentioned the Bury game, because I remember I went to that game and we went into the porter cabin on the forecourt that used to be the Hammers shop,
Oh yeah, good old port cabin, yeah.
and I bought a first team shirt
Oh
that
wow,
day,
like
and it
this one.
that like that one, yeah, but it didn't have the sponsorship,
Oh,
and
that's even better. Yeah.
it was £10.95. I remember that.
Look, I got the price list there.
Ah,
Look.
there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Got the price list, and so you would have been you're bang on, mate. Yeah, boys, large boys, youths between 8.95 and 10.95.
there you are.
Good memory,
Ten ninety
excellent.
five. Well, I don't know why it's etched on my brain. I think it was because I was very superstitious in those days, and I used to think that if I spent that sort of money in the club shop before every game, we'd win 10-0. So
That's amazing. Yeah, so obviously Tuesday it was, and yeah, it's the middle of the week. It's difficult because of school, but you managed to do it.
I think it was a 7:30 kickoff as well. That you always used to kick off at 7:30 in those days.
It is.
Um,
That's the
yeah,
program. Yep,
I
half
don't
past
know why
seven.
they don't know why they moved it to 7:45, presumably to give people a bit extra time to get from work and stuff. But
It could be. Would you have bought the program those days? Because I love
yeah,
collecting programs. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I started off buying the program to every game I went to, but then I started collecting and started buying the ones. Do you remember there used to be a program stall on Green Street,
Yeah.
just between the station and the main gates? I used to go there and get all the away ones from the games I didn't go to, and all the home games that if I missed a home game, I could go. So I've got a complete set from. Actually, I've actually gone back to 1981, and I've got a complete set of home matches from 81 up to 2000.
Oh, you done something similar to me in lockdown. I went from 70, and I think I'm probably 40 away or less than
Mm,
that from all of them up to now from
yeah,
70, and I've got a whole cupboard full, the
yeah,
on top of the cupboards now, and the new ones, and Rob, you get those leather. I've got all of them, and they're bloody expensive, the leather sort of
yeah.
bound. I think I need two of them or maybe three to fit a whole season in now.
Right.
I think at least definitely two.
Yeah,
And another admission on my part is, yeah, I'll still buy all the programs to this day, but I don't
yeah,
read any of the new ones. I don't like them,
yeah.
but I
I
buy
gave
them.
up. I gave
Yeah.
up in about 2000 because it was just getting silly. They were getting so thick,
Oh, magazines,
and
aren't they?
yeah,
Yeah.
they're all full of advertising and whatever. So there's very little content in there. Um,
It is.
so when they were 50p and they were wafer thin, you could sort of roll it up and it wouldn't get damaged. But
Yeah. This particular one isn't, because we used to have the little ones. Remember, up to about 82.
yeah,
Those, and
I think
then
this was the first season where they went A5,
I think
and
so, mate. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, it looks nice, and I'm a bit of a historical nerd, so I know like the Jack Hillier brothers used to print these, and I think they had their printers and barking somewhere. And we
mm,
often used to, again, not people, we often used to win the Program of the Year award
yeah,
alongside
yeah, yeah,
Everton and Villa. I think us three were
yeah,
the best programs out there.
mm.
But for me, being a big Adidas mate, these kits are to die for. I mean, the away kit,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
love that. I love that.
yeah,
You can wear that with a nice pair of jeans and things.
yeah.
Looks nice. And who was your favourite player back then, sort of around that time and that season? Who would you really, Alan Devonshire maybe, or someone like that?
Yeah, I mean, um, from watching on TV and watching England, Trevor Brooking obviously was the guy that my dad always said, "Oh, watch out for him.
Yeah,
He uses both feet. He's not particularly quick, but he's sharp. His brain's 2 steps ahead of everybody else." And he always, although my dad wasn't a West Ham fan to start with, he became a West Ham fan because of me.
oh,
Um, I mean, he enjoyed football, but he didn't really support any particular team. So he became a West Ham fan because of me. But he always pointed out Trevor Brooking and said, he's a great player. So, and I remember him saying to me before I went, "Oh, I hope Trevor Brooking's playing," and of course he was. But I only got to see him for that season in the flesh.
Yeah.
But I always
Wow.
liked. Obviously, Tony Cottee was quite new on the scene at that point and was scoring a lot of goals. Devonshire, as you mentioned, Billy Bonds obviously was already a legend by that point, and was already, people were saying he's getting on a bit. He's only got a few more games left in him, but he carried on for another 6 years, I think. Well, all of them. I mean, they were all. I think there was 6 players there from the cup final. No, not 6. It won't be 6, will it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players from the 1980 cup final.
Yeah.
So we'd got to know them all already, and knew what the team was going to be pretty much before you turned up. I think, and again, talking about that Bury game, I think there was only one change for that from this game to the Bury game, which is an indication of how, not just how small the squads were, but how seriously things were taken. All competitions were taken seriously, and everyone pretty much played every game.
I think so. I think the only name missing from here, I realised, was Goddard, and I think he's probably not fit.
He was injured, for most of that season,
And I think Witten might have joined in that summer from Coventry, if I remember.
Yeah.
Swindlehurst was recent, maybe the season before.
Yeah.
Going back to
Walford had joined that season as well.
Yeah. You played for Arsenal and Norwich and clubs like that. Always, well, it is a fact, and I'm being harsh. Walford was he the weak point? I think if you look at other players.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't realise at that time, because I think he'd scored the winner at Everton, and then scored the first goal in this game. So we thought, God, we got a good old left back on our hands here. Got a replacement for Frank Lampard. And of course, Lampard came back in and played another 2 seasons. I think he retired at the end of the following season. Or he might have retired. He might have retired at the end of this season. I can't remember.
You are absolutely right. And do you think the reason? Actually, you're right. Well, actually, when Lampard comes back in, Walford is playing next to him
in the centre.
So, yeah.
Because we had issues at centre half as well. I think Alvin Martin was in a car crash with Witten. He was driving Steve Witten to training, and they had an accident in the car, and they were both out for several weeks.
You're right.
One of the reasons why we didn't finish as high as I think, if we hadn't had so many injuries, we could have done better than 85, 86 that year.
Looks like we finished around 8th.
We finished 8th or 9th, but we were second right up till the middle of January.
Yeah.
And then Devonshire got his injury in the FA Cup against Wigan, and Martin and Witten were out. Brooking was injured for a large part of the season, in and out. So
he wasn't actually. He only missed 6. Yeah, Alan came in.
It felt like more than that.
No, but you're right. But you're right. Centre back pairing at one time, mate. It looks like Neil Orr and Walford in the middle at one time.
Well, there you go. That tells you all you need to know, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're right. And Cottee, very interesting point. Obviously, you being at school and not far in terms of age, from 18 at that time, so you could relate to him a little bit, couldn't you? Not that far in. Not that.
Yeah, there's only 2 years. 2 years between us. Yeah. But I think when you're that age, when you're 15 and someone else is 18, it feels like a chasm, doesn't it? It's like.
You're right. And going back to Brooking quickly, he was like a piece of art, culture, smooth, good on the eye, silky, really.
And it didn't matter. Didn't matter what the pitch was like either. It could be a complete quagmire. He just floated over it, didn't he? It was just, you never saw him struggling to run. It was always like he was on some sort of hovercraft. He just, he was just an exceptional player. I don't think we've seen the like of him since, really. Even the likes of Di Canio or Payet, players with exceptional talent, didn't make it look as easy as he did.
I had a lot of time, and I used to like Glenn Hoddle at that time. I don't know what you think about him during that period. Glenn Hoddle was quite nice on the eye, quite silky, West Ham type of player. But then again, I don't want to be. I don't like Spurs, but they've had a lot of skillful players.
Yeah,
and that time they had a good team as well. So yeah, I think. I mean, I don't want to go back to what we're doing now, but yeah, perhaps in the modern game, the wingers are. I don't know what's going on. They're not really wingers. We've got no dribblers anymore, Rob, have we? We still have a good dribbler, don't we? You know,
there's no. I mean, the game's finished. Do you remember around that time when the game started? West Ham would always, well, most teams, even if you're playing away, the home team would always throw everything in the first 5 minutes. The first team would go hell for leather. Very rarely resulted in a goal, but they just go mental for the first 5 minutes and go all out attack. And these days, they kick off and they pass it around the back, and then it goes out for a throw in, and then it goes sideways again. Just go for it. I think if you did that today, you'd scare the hell out of a lot of teams, and you'd probably be 1-0 up inside 5 minutes. But there's a lot about the modern game that's very, very different.
That's why, go ahead. Sorry,
I'm just thinking it was nearly 40 years ago. So if you put it in context, what was 40 years before that game was what Second World War. So
yeah, puts it all into perspective, really. But I'm one of those who, when I watch the old John Lyall games from this time, I don't agree. I think that we played very fast, one touch. Our fullbacks are like wing backs, like you said. They bomb on like crazy at the beginning, and we press like anything. Like the Liverpool team, we play like that, and that's why I think we were quite a fit team and aggressive, weren't we? I think
towards the end of that season, I started standing on the old East Terrace chicken run.
Oh, right.
And we liked that because you could change ends at half time. So you could stand towards the goal we were attacking in the first half, then you'd go and get a pie at half time and go in through the other gate and stand at the other end. And there was a kind of rhythm to our play. Parks used to roll it out to Ray Stewart to start every attack. Very rarely he punted it down the field. He would roll it out to Ray Stewart. Ray Stewart would play it forward. And I know that speaking with George Paris was at one of our live events for Stop Hammer Time not so long ago, and he said all through his coaching at West Ham, the first thing the coach said to him: get the ball, look for a forward pass it forward, don't pass it square, don't pass it back, get it forward. And that was how it was. Then Parks would roll the ball out to Stewart would pass it forward, someone in midfield would look for a through ball. If it didn't work, but more often than not it did.
No, that's interesting. That is. You mentioned the pie. I just want to clarify. Was there any burgers on sale at Grounds at that time? I'm not sure if burgers were there that time, whether they come a bit later on, or was it more?
I think they were, because I remember doing a piece in English literature and English language, writing about it and saying I could the smell as you walk down Green Street was fried onions and horse manure. And I think you see that a lot in some retro Facebook pages, don't you? People saying, remember the smell of horses and fried onions.
Hot dogs as well. Onions and hot dogs.
Certainly no popcorn or ice cream.
No, not really. I mean, going to the game, we were 1-0 down after 8-9 minutes from a Leicester team, Rob, that were, I think they didn't score any goals. They're in the relegation. So again, the surprise. When you look at their team, the names I recognise is, I remember Andy Peake, Kevin McDonald, Ian Wilson, and obviously the one and only Gary Lineker.
Lineker, and Alan Smith as well. See on the team sheet there, I mean, they were a good side in their day, or on their day. I think they went down about 3 years later, didn't they?
Looks like they kind of just below mid-table they finished it. So did all right. Lineker 22 goals. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, when was it? Was it just after the '86 World Cup? He went to
Barcelona.
It was. He went to Barcelona, but he was at Everton the year before that, wasn't he?
Before 1 year.
So one more year at Leicester before he trotted off to Everton.
Yeah, I mean, he edged McAvenny to the top scorer, but rightly so. McAvenny says he scored a fair amount of penalties, which McAvenny didn't get a chance to do.
Yeah,
Funny enough, in both spells, because the first spell was Stewart, second spell Dick, so McAvenny didn't get a chance
yeah,
to get anywhere near that, really. So yeah, Steve
yeah. I
Lynex
think
on.
Ray Stewart used to get sort of minimum of 5 a season, sometimes as many as 10, didn't he? 10 or 11 goals.
Yeah. Tell me another thing people might not know. If you sat in the chicken run, you could see the tunnel and John Lyle, couldn't you, where they were roughly?
Yeah.
And back in those days, all I saw John do, and perhaps other managers, used to have a chewing gum non-stop or a cigarette.
Mm.
I didn't see him like they know now, really, sort of stand up and point or
No,
shout, or didn't see that, did
no.
you?
You didn't
Yeah.
see that from
No.
either manager, really. They sat in the dugout, and you might see them gesticulate, perhaps, but or give instructions to a substitute as they were coming on. But yeah, it was usually pretty, and they were all sat there in raincoats and gloves rather than tracksuits or anything like that. It was all very civilized.
I think he had obviously had Mick McGivern, is it? Mick McGivern next to him.
Yeah, and Ronnie Boyce, I think, was involved in the coaching
Definitely.
at that point.
And the one and only Rob Jenkins, I know we got loads of funny stories about him in West Ham folklore and
Yeah.
things like that. So it would have been
Hot potato man.
and obviously just come to my mind now, the photographer Steve Bacon, I think, the
Yeah,
big guy. Yeah, he would
yeah,
always
yeah.
be behind the goal, wouldn't he? Yeah.
I mean, that photograph on the front cover of the program is one of my favourite West Ham photographs of all time, of Alan Devonshire leaping over a challenge from a
Yeah.
Birmingham player, I think it is. I think again, it's one of those photographs that you look at and you just remember what a great player Dev was. Yeah,
It is Birmingham. Yeah, it is Birmingham. Yeah, you recognise one of the players on the floor. And I don't know what I've done with Steve's book. There's a book
yeah.
but oh God, I must have lent it to someone.
There's some stories in there. Yeah,
He's very close with Ray Stewart, I think, if I remember top of my head, and stuff like that. He used to be on the team bus, didn't he? John's like, come on, you can come with us. It's all right. And then one or two of the managers, they obviously weren't going to be that friendly towards him, and it's just the way it is, isn't it? With that, so yes, Steve Walford equalised, and half-time was 1-1. Do you remember anything about the Steve Walford goal, roughly? I mean, there's no footage, is there, Rob, of this game?
No, I've not seen any. I do, of the 3 goals, it's the one I've got a vague recollection of, and I think it was a cracking shot from outside the box, because we were on the North Bank and it was at the South Bank end. I remember that, and I think he curled it in from the outside the box. The other two goals, the reason I don't remember them particularly well is because I'm only little and I was in the North Bank, and if you were small, you couldn't always see the goal line. So
this is the picture of Swindlehurst's goal. Let me try to get that up on there.
Yeah,
that's Swindlehurst's goal.
Yeah.
So you can make a little bit of that. Yeah.
It looks like every Swindlehurst goal. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to love him. I thought
I liked him. Yeah, I thought he was a great player.
And one more thing, Rob, is I listened to his interview recently, and again, going back to John Lyle being too honest, 85-86 season 40 starts, he's part of the squad. And he's part of that squad before that magic season, and we could have done with him on the bench sometimes. But John, being John, tells him and advises him to leave, that you're not going to get any games. And I think, John, too nice for your own good sometimes.
See, I mean, again, you have to put it in context of the way clubs were run in those days, and they had very small squads, didn't they? So he probably felt he couldn't afford another wage. And John Lyle used to run the team very much as though it was his own concern. And I think after 85-86, it was one of the reasons why, things didn't develop as we would have liked, because I think there was money available to buy more players in the summer, and he chose not to. So it's when he did buy Stuart Robson in the January, it was too late.
I think he wasn't loyal in 78, 77 when he dismantled that team then, which was kind of half green was his. But then I think he perhaps towards the end he got a bit loyal to a lot of them from because they were hanging around from the 80s team, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And some of the buys, Tommy McQueen, Gary Strodder, Alan McKnight, David Kelly. It didn't quite hit the right button. For me, I love Stuart Robson. Whether he was a right fit for us, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you can't say he's a bad footballer.
No,
remember
a
him.
number of players from that 85, 86 team have said he was a great player, but he wasn't what we needed.
Yeah. I remember him. Great athlete. I remember him covering it right back in that 89 League Cup replays with Derby. Covered that very, very well. Hammer of the year in 87 or 88 as well.
And he played through injury as well, didn't he? Which you just wouldn't happen these days.
Just the way it goes, isn't it, mate? So 1-1 at half time.
Yeah.
And what would you do half time? Would you stand where you were? Would you go out and try to grab something, or would it be too busy?
Good question, actually. I seem to think because you were on the terrace, and you knew that if you moved, you might lose your good spot. So I think we pretty much stayed where we were. There wasn't any. I don't remember there being any entertainment as such on the pitch. There might have been a penalty competition or something. I don't know, but there was just music playing over the tannoy, and you'd read the program. I don't think there was any. It wasn't we went to when we started standing on the chicken run. We'd go downstairs at half time.
Yeah.
If your queues weren't horrendous, get something to eat or drink, and then shuffle along to stand out by the goal where we were attacking second half. But it was always a squash up that end because everyone wanted to stand up that end. I don't remember half times. I think we just stood where we were, and
fair enough. I think again, I just realised that in common with me and in common with last week's show, this is an evening game. So my first game was an evening game, and for me that stands out even more because you just see the pitch, don't you? It looks even better. I think
it's when you first see that, you're coming up the steps. You come up the steps of the old North Bank and turn at the top of the terrace, and the lights are on. That pitch looks like it's electric green, doesn't it? It's absolutely, especially as it was the second home game of the season, so there was still grass on it. As the seasons went on in the 80s and certainly the 70s, it became, by November it was usually there was a little bit of grass at the corner flags if you were lucky. It was just mud.
And being an early game, perhaps the floodlights didn't come on till a bit later on. Perhaps they kicked off with it fairly bit of light there, and then they usually kick in a bit later.
I seem to remember getting there fairly late. We were there with about 15 minutes before kickoff. But there were games, certainly that season, where we'd get there at 12 o'clock and stand on the terrace to get a good spot against the front wall, or against a crash barrier. Because otherwise, again, only being 5'5", you didn't want to be in a position where you were you're going to have your view blocked. So I was always try and get there early. But so I know there were games when we got there from between 12 and 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. No, fair enough. I think obviously Swindlehurst and Cotty, they followed up with a 3-1 win. I don't know if you remember any of those goals or anything.
I don't remember them. No, I vaguely recall Walford's equaliser, but I remember the crowd celebrating whatever, but I can't picture in my mind the goals going in.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've tried to look for the footage, and I know the club at that time they used to do the end of the season videos, but I don't know if that was in place for this season. Certainly did follow a few seasons after that, really.
Yeah.
And did you go regularly after that, or just went whenever you could?
Yeah, I think I went to most home games, and then started going away. I went away to Palace in the FA Cup in the January.
Did you? The Bobby Barnes and them go. Oh, right.
Yeah. Because that was a 20-minute walk from where I lived.
Interesting.
And then I went to Birmingham for the 5th round,
Oh my God, did you?
Yeah.
Man, I was so disappointed that day. We got
I just remember at 3-0, it was really crowded in the away end, and then suddenly, when the third goal went in, then we got a lot more space around us, and I thought, oh, is people leaving already? But of course, they were all piling onto the pitch.
That footage, I think that most of that game's on YouTube
somewhere.
Yeah.
I think we played them in the league a couple of weeks before, and also got trounced 3-0. That full game pretty much is on YouTube somewhere. But there is some footage of the pitch invasion on YouTube as well.
That's funny you say that, because we trounced them 4-0 in the first game in the league.
Yeah.
They were quite physical, that team, Birmingham. I remember, if you look at Mick Harford, is it, and then Dennis and one or two other nasty players.
They went down. They went down that season, and then came straight back up. And we played them first day, 85-86, and they beat us again.
Oh mate, all I remember about that cup game is God, there's horses all over the place. That's what I remember, talking about horses. But Palace, I do remember under the floodlights again, and we nearly went out in the first game till got late equaliser on the Saturday, didn't we, at Palace away?
Swindlehurst, because he was an ex-Palace player, wasn't he?
That's the one where it's headed, it comes out, someone heads it back in again, it comes out again, and then
that's on YouTube somewhere. That footage.
I remember that really. I remember that very, very well. Anything else to share before we wrap up? But it's been, for me, it's like history, Rob. I love history, and it's a lot more for the new. I mean, I was 9, 10, and I didn't go, but I remember that season. I remember, for me, the FA Cup was, for a kid, FA Cup was my life. And when we went out to Birmingham, I was so upset, because you have to wait another year, and FA Cup was big back then, very, very big. And Birmingham, I don't know who they went through next round, maybe Watford. If it's 84, it was a Watford-Everton final, wasn't it, mate?
I think they lost to Watford in the next round, which and I don't know. There were, again, if we'd kept Devonshire fit and Martin and Witten, maybe we wouldn't have got beaten 3-0 at Birmingham, or at least got a replay.
That's true. Birmingham, we should have. If we were drawn at home, we should have handled it.
And with a fully fit first 11, we could have played anyone in a semi-final on a neutral ground, or in a final at Wembley. We would have beaten the Liverpool. Could have beaten the Liverpool of the day then. Although, I think one of the next games I went to was at home to Liverpool, and it was pouring with rain.
I remember that.
We got absolutely drenched, and they turned us over 3-1.
Yeah, Dev scored, didn't he, for us at the end? Was that a Michael Robinson hat trick?
That's the one. Yeah.
Oh God, I remember Paul Walsh hat trick a couple of years later. But then we done them the year before, done them a little bit after that. We kind of matched. What game at home did you used to really want to see, like the team? Was it Liverpool, United, or anyone like that?
One I really, I mean, Liverpool at the time were
big,
were so big. They were the team that I always wanted us to beat every year, and I was disappointed most years. I don't think I saw us beat Liverpool at home until that 4-1 in the Littlewoods Cup.
Oh
the League Cup.
Yeah, what a night that was! Wow. Yeah, that's incredible, really.
But you have to go even further on until we beat them in the league. I remember seeing us beat them in the league. Can't remember, but they were the team at the time. I wouldn't say I looked out for that. Manchester United as well. Obviously, they were the team. Although they weren't as successful as they were going to go on to be, I always thought they played better football than Liverpool. And it was always a good game. West Ham. It was always the live game.
Upton Park one. Yeah.
That season was our first live league match. Was West Ham Man United, and I think they picked us every year after that for the next 15 years or so, until Sky came in, and then it's generally West Ham Man United is live on Sky, isn't it?
It is. I remember that 1-1. That's the one where Swindlehurst equalised near the half time, wasn't it? From the corner, and Ray Wilkins scored, I think, for United. That lob, I think.
Can't fault your memory on that.
Yeah, because I remember the live games, and we used to record them, and I'd watch them over and over again. Yeah, always West Ham home to Man United back then. And this is a team people might not know. Yeah, we all go on about 85, 86 and 80, but this is the one Phil Park says that another one or two and we would have been close to
Well,
get the
that's it.
league. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. You know, if
Mm.
Dev had stayed fit, because I think we were only 2 points off the top in January, in second place, and then we went on this horrible run of only winning one in 11 or something, and ended up sliding right down the table. But if Dev had, I'm convinced if Dev and Alvin Martin had stayed fit, because he brought in Paul Hilton as well, didn't he, as centre half that season?
Yeah. I'm just so Hilton's the name starts to pop up. Yeah, around February time, I think.
Yeah.
Alan Dickens is beginning to be coming in a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Warren Donald even gets on the bench a couple of times.
Yeah.
Not a big squad, mate. You're talking about 15 at max, aren't you? Paul Brush, utility player. I don't even know what his position was. Brush. I don't know.
He was a left back. He was a left back primarily, but I think he could play. He could play if a push in midfield or at centre half, but primarily a left back. You know, good little player, but not in the same league as Frank Lampard Senior. But you know, Frank Lampard Senior was at the very, very end of his career at that point, and we needed a new left back, and Steve Walford weren't it.
Yeah, maybe we should have gone in for Stuart Pearce that time.
Yeah, he was just. Yeah, it's easy to look back. I don't think anyone knew how good he was going to turn out to be. But
no, we can all. Yeah, but I think we were a half decent team back then. Good cup runs all the time, and I would say you're a very lucky man, Rob, at that time to experience that time. You know, great retro.
I do feel lucky to have been able to see Trevor Brooking play in the flesh. I know there's a lot of diehard fans that never got to see that. I know I regret not being able to see Bobby Moore play, but that would mean I'm 10 years older than I am now. So I'll take the Trevor Brooking, thanks.
I think so, and that's coming more to the front because I'm doing that Hammer history thing, and when I'm speaking to fans slightly older than yourself, I'm very envious when they mention Barnes, Brooking, and some of those nights in 76 Eintracht Frankfurt journeys to 80, 81. There's another new show I'm going to be doing. I'm on the hunt for people who attended the 1980 FA Cup final, so I'm speaking to around 4 or 5 of them, and also going to get that done, find out what it was on the day, how they got there, that kind of thing. So that'll be coming soon, and that Hammer history one will be carrying on. So any final sort of memories to share, Rob, before we close off really and say thank you for your time?
I was just trying to think about getting away from the game, and after the game and the long queue at Upton Park tube station. I think that was nothing that ever changed. But I do remember I'd always go back to London Bridge, and I'd always meet several friends from school who'd all been to either Arsenal or Tottenham or Chelsea, because that was like the central hub where we'd all go home from there. So we would always go home on the train with someone who'd been to one of the other games in London and compare notes. Yeah.
Wow. I think if I'm right, then they used to, like, in terms of letting everyone know what the rest of the games at halftime, what the scores are, they used to have a method around the ground, didn't they? Hanging those letters up and stuff like that.
Before my time.
This would have been for the radio then. Sorry for the because when I used to go,
they used to have on the back of the program, all the other fixtures would have a letter against them, wouldn't they? And they would hang a little. They put the scores against the letters, so they didn't have to put the names of the teams up.
That's it, mate. That's it. So I suppose when you went, there was no Bovril there anymore as well, mate.
I think there was Bovril then. I think it had been invented. And wagon wheels and wheels. Percy Dalton's peanuts. Remember the guy used to walk around the perimeter and he'd throw them up. He'd throw the bag up the up.
His name again. It's all there. The people who's working with me. They remember Peanut Man. Peanuts. Yeah. Quasimodo, is it? Isn't what they call him? Quasi. I don't know what his real name was. That's what I'm hearing from everyone. But all those stories. But
legend.
Yeah, we got to keep the memories alive for the next generation, and
it's a shame. It's a shame that there weren't mobile phones and stuff around then to record a lot of this stuff, because it's all just a bit of a blur now for a lot of people. And the whole match day experience was so different, and it's just not captured anywhere. I don't think, you've just got to rely on other people that were there sort of writing about it and talking about it on shows like this. It's great.
I think so. Yeah, like you said, if you're lucky enough, your game will be televised. The following day, big match or match of the day. If not, then there's no footage.
Yeah, I mean, that season was the first season that league games were shown live.
Yeah. I think Spurs Wolves was the first one, ITV. That was draw, I think. And then we came in. And then, did you go to the West Ham Wigan when Devonshire was injured? Were you there?
I was there that day. Yeah. It happened up the other end of the pitch, but people that were up that end, I remember saying they heard him scream, and they knew it wasn't good.
It mentions in the program a couple of weeks later, again thinking, Dev will be back in 7 weeks. We're hoping it's longer than that whole season.
I think he played 2 games in the following season and realised he wasn't ready, and he was out for well over a year in the end.
Yeah.
He wasn't the same player. Wasn't the same player when he came back.
Even though McAvenny said, "What I saw of him, that's enough for me to say what a great player." But imagine what he's like before.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Bobby Robson bidding 1 or 2 million for him after 80-81, around that time, being a regular in the England team if he wasn't injured. And Lyle said, if he's in the team, we're top 4. If he's not in the team, we're 8th.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And that's
absolutely
amount of difference. And he manages Maidenhead, which is the borough I live in, Windsor Maidenhead. So so he just manages them for a good while now. And that's what it is, mate. So thank you, Rob, for your very precious time. I know you're trying
welcome.
Like you said, you're coming back from holiday, trying to get back and catch up with things and that kind of thing. So we'll get you on again with some interesting format. So keep following us and keep doing great things, Rob. And thank you again for coming, mate.
Cheers. You're welcome.
Great. Take care.
Bye.